Well, NATO leaders are meeting in Washington this week, starting today, and Ukraine is one of their top priorities. The corrupt country that lies and kidnaps people to throw them into war. Yes, that Ukraine is the priority, meaning they will take your money if you are a member of a Western nation, and they will funnel it into a corrupt war and people will continue to die. But hey, NATO is super cool these days. Even they have influencers to lie to us, tell us that NATO is only a defensive organization. Check out this super dope dude who dropped this video on NATO's Twitter page.
Did you know that Washington, D.C. witnessed the birth of NATO? It all started right here at the Andrew W. Mellon Auditorium, where 12 countries from Europe and North America came together in 1949 to sign the document in this building, laying the foundations for the NATO we have today, the world's most successful political and military alliance. 75 years after its creation, now 32 members strong, this year NATO is hosting its summit right here in Washington, D.C., home of the U.S. Congress and the White House, the political heart of the United States. At the NATO summit, heads of state and government will discuss and make decisions on the most important security challenges facing our world today, continuing to boost NATO's ability to keep our 1 billion people safe. The NATO summit is about to start. Welcome to Washington, D.C.
You guys, isn't that so super dope and rad?
That was so
and
funky.
Hip? And
NATO
funky
is so
fresh.
NATO is so cool with all their social media presence.
It's really cool. It's so exciting if you don't bring up the fact that NATO's first major defensive move was to bomb the shit out of Yugoslavia, including many civilian targets. They struck a media center, civilian hospitals, and bridges, including one that was bombed as a civilian train passed over it. Remember that? That was super cool and hip too. Can we leave this on the screen for a second? Because it's funny to talk about hospitals, right? Bombing hospitals, especially when you consider that Ukraine this week is accusing Russia of bombing a hospital this very week. Here is Zelensky accusing Russia of bombing a children's hospital in Kiev this week. And then, so what they're saying now is 37 people were killed, many of whom were children, 170 injured, including 13 children. They're saying that this was Russia's brutal missile strike. But right on cue, as soon as they say this, now we will recall that in the 2+ years since the conflict began in Ukraine, we've seen many times, so many times, and we're going to go over just a few, where Ukraine says Russia did this, and later investigations show that it was Ukraine that did this. So let's keep that in mind because we don't know yet. This was a brand new bombing, but right on cue, Western leaders and press repeated this line from Zelensky. Here's President Biden saying that Russia's missile killed all of these children at this hospital. Here is Justin Trudeau parroting that sentiment. So bad, we're pretty sure they're just retweeting what Zelensky said. Here is British Prime Minister, new British Prime Minister Keir Starr, attacking innocent children with these brave actions. And again, we stand with Ukraine. 100%, all of these countries do. Here's the Wall Street Journal repeating this. Russian missiles hit Kiev children, right, with this deadly attack. So at this point, again, we do not know for sure who hit this hospital, but there is some evidence that this was Ukraine's anti-missile defense system that was errantly fired against the attacks that we do know Russia was targeting inside Ukraine. Russia admits that they were targeting HIMARS. Ukraine quite possibly,
which are American
provided
weapons.
HIMARS, right? And so Russia said, yes, we struck 5 places inside Ukraine where we knew that U.S. provided HIMARS were. Now, Ukraine, we know, is untrained on these defense systems. We've proven that time and again. And so now some are saying that the missiles match what Ukraine was given by NATO, and that video evidence shows that this was Ukraine's fault in launching errant counterattacks over civilian areas, which they have done time and time and time again. Now, Russian spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said Russia does not strike civilian targets, and all of the strikes carried out by the Russian military are aimed at critical infrastructure facilities. Now, he also said that numerous photos and video footage from Kiev clearly confirm the fact of destruction due to the fall of Ukrainian air defense missiles launched from an anti-aircraft missile system within the city. RT is the only press giving both sides of this story at this hour, saying that it is pro-Kiev media outlets saying that this was Russia, but Russia is saying that these were Ukrainian defense systems. So what should we do with this information, given I'm assuming you're not there, I'm not there? We don't know. Investigations are not complete, but what we should not do is believe that this is a reason to up the ante, to go to war with Russia more, to use Western money to tank Western economies to drag out this war more. That's what we should not do. If past is prologue, then Ukraine most likely will be found responsible for this. We can't know for sure, but we've seen this before. So let's look at this past as prologue. In 2022, Ukraine claimed that Russia bombed a maternity hospital, only it was in fact Ukraine that was bombing that hospital. Last year, Ukraine claimed that Russia bombed Poland. It turned out absolutely that Ukraine bombed Poland. Even President Biden, when he understood it at the time, said that the evidence does not suggest that Russia bombed Poland. We knew Russia used, or that Ukraine used our weapons and bombed Poland, killing at least 2 farmers, if not more. Even President Biden admitted that, and not before, though, these 2 clowns called Zelensky on the phone to tell them how sorry they were that Russia did that. Remember this?
I love it.
Prime Minister Trudeau, Prime Minister Sunak, President Zelensky, please go ahead, you're online.
Hello, Vladimir. It's Rishi and Justin.
Remember that?
What I love still is Justin Trudeau putting on his own Zelensky accent. He's like, hello, Vladimir. He's like, you don't speak that way. You don't. Hello, Vladimir.
His Despicable Me accent.
To all world leaders, like when they have like a big meeting at like the G20 or something, is he walking around going like, oh,
hey,
bonjour.
I
guess he probably doesn't speak French, but that was a bad one.
That's like if we go to a Mexican restaurant, like, I'll have 3 tacos and 2 cans of beans and some tortillas.
What is tequila? What is tequila?
It's like beer. Okay. Now, remember, this was, again, Ukraine that launched that missile into Poland. But, you know, those 2 jokers decided to do that press op in front of that phone call. Now, we could spend 10 minutes going over all the attacks in the Donbass that were from the Ukraine and blamed on Russia, right? But we'll just say right now, we don't know yet about this hospital in Kiev, but we've seen this before. Ukraine is not trained on these weapons. Civilians get hurt when they use them. Also, Ukraine is run by liars. Just last week, they said that they are killing more Russian soldiers than you think. This was reported by The Economist and then covered by the Kiev Independent, apparently from leaked documents from the U.S. State Department, where Ukraine told the State Department, hey, looks like we're losing, but we're killing a lot of bad guys. The number could be as high as 728,000 Russian soldiers were killed, which is so funny because Russia has not sent any more than 300,000. We've covered this before. So where do they get all those deaths? Where do they get all those death bodies? They're losing the war, but killing a lot of people. How is that happening? And just in 2023, Ukraine said that Russia had lost 250,000. So how did they triple that number since last summer while losing the war and not gaining any territory? Anybody paying attention to the fact that they're liars and incompetent and people are dying?
We are.
Yeah, we are, but most people are not. And again, it is possible that Russia hit civilian infrastructure, in which case we should absolutely condemn it, hold their feet to the fire, and figure out why. But it's so funny that now NATO cares so much about this hospital, but no hospitals in Gaza. We care nothing about that at all, right? Is that the case? That's so funny. But NATO is still expected to pledge at least $40 billion per year. Not another one-time package, but $40 billion in recurring payments. It's like a mortgage payment now. The Wall Street Journal is calling this a Trump Proof Fund. According to the journal, the operation is going to be called NATO Security Assistance and Training for Ukraine. It will be staffed by nearly 700 U.S. and other allied personnel from across the country. And they're saying this is going to replace the American-led military response since the Ukraine invasion, or the military, they call it the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Since the conflict began in Ukraine. And I am not an expert in international alliance treaties, but I don't think you can Trump proof, or for that matter, RFK proof, this treaty, because if both of those world leaders decide that this is not in our best interests, which both of them have publicly stated, then we will get out of it. But for now, we've got Biden in office. He loves war. He loves NATO. He loves destroying the American economy by sending money to foreign wars. So that's what we've got now. So this week, that's what's on the agenda, this celebration of hip hop NATO. Let us know what you think of that.